Okay, so this is Shed Hacks, and in this video we're going to be making a block person, or block man, or block lady, whatever you would like. And you can make like a Minecraft version if you're into that sort of thing, but today we're just going to concentrate on making the block person. And this is going to be our design. Always have a design when you're starting a project, because you got something to reference against. Now this design will be a replica or to scale of the model. Now with the little bits like the tie, the heart, the mouth and the goggles or glasses, those are optional, and we cut those out on the laser cutter, but you can cut them out with a coping saw if you're very careful. And like most of our projects, this will be made out of scrap wood, so wood we're literally going to chuck in the bin.
Use a little bit of hardwood there.
Yeah. We've used a little bit of mahogany here, but that's not necessary, it's just what we had on hand.
That just shows a washer there, look, metal washer. And we'll show you what a wash looks like.
A washer is like just a zero, or like an O.
We'll put that there to allow the arms to move.
Now this is sort of a starter project, because it can be quite simple and easy, but you can also make it like an expert by making the glasses and the tie. So that's for all ages, really.
Put some feet on him. Fun little project this. Real beginner's project. Some areas of complexity in it. This can be the screw.
You can actually make this quite simple,
Yeah.
or really complicated.
Which of these? Dowel used there. Dowel rod. Well, you could put a screw in there, I suppose.
I think dowel works better, because it goes through both legs.
Okay. Okay, some laser cut parts. Obviously, not many people have a laser cutter, but you may have access to one. Quite good. Look at that. Got some eyes on him. I suppose you could very carefully make these parts. He could even be holding a teacup. Or have a
Bow and a tie.
And he's got a little heart. And some earphones even. You know, these are all bits you can add.
These are just optional.
Okay.
So this is the next part of making the block man. So we're gonna just need a bit of scrap material like this, and it's gonna be about 70 millimeters wide, as we have on the diagram.
Oh, I see you put some sizes on there, Jake. Good boy.
Yeah, and we're just gonna make a small mark, and then we're gonna use our tri-square, in this case a small one, and get a nice straight line, and make sure this is a completely flat edge and the block of wood is square. So then we're actually going to mark this side as well. So then we're going to put it in our bench hook, tighten it up in the vise. I'm going to grab a tenon saw from B&Q or whatever, and I'm going to just start to get it. Okay, so now we're marking out the legs for the block man, and make sure you use a tri-square to get a nice straight line. And you do this all the way around, so you know where to cut, and even shade in the parts where you're gonna cut out, so you don't make a silly mistake and cut out the wrong bit. So now we're going to put it in the vise, just to make it easier. Tighten it up, and then get our tenon saw, and we're going to start cutting on the line. Okay, in this next part we're going to be using a coping saw to cut out the legs, the waste material. Now this is the hardest part of the project, because when you're cutting with a coping saw, you've always got to keep it moving, even when you're going around the corner. So when you're going around the corner, keep it moving and gradually cut through the waste. And then you can also make sure that the blade's quite tight by adjusting it with these. With there, it's a little twisted. And make sure you just keep it moving. Don't go ridiculously fast. Just go at a comfortable pace. And if you stop whilst going around the corner, you can snap the blade or just jam it. Okay, and then that is the part of the legs, where the legs go, and we can just cut that little bit out there if needed.
Or we could use a file perhaps, couldn't we?
Yes. Okay, so this part is for the arms and the legs, and it's made out of a bit of hardwood. So we're just going to plop it in the vise. Make sure they're level on the bottom. And get a block plane and just plane it a bit.
Excellent. Show me the plane underneath, Jake. Okay, there's the blade there. That has to be kept really sharp.
Yeah.
And you put the plane on its side. Can you see down like that? I wonder if you could show the viewers, Jake, the part you did and using the file to make sure
Oh yeah.
the body's a bit neater.
So with this part, we put the file in, the body in the vise, get the file, and this one doesn't fit exactly well, so it's going to have to be quite small movements like this.
Excellent, that'll get that nice and level. And what's the next stage, Jake?
So the next stage is to cut these little bits out.
And
So
yeah.
we're going to get the bench hook.
Well done. And do you like this project, Jake? Is it a fun project? Or?
Yeah, it's quite a fun project. I mean, it can be quite hard.
And good for what year group, do you think?
I would say year 8, year 9 sort of year group.
Okay, 12 years old, maybe 11 years old.
Okay, and that's going to be one of our legs or arms.
I might just come around the other side quickly. Good technique there.
Okay, so there's one leg, 2 arms. They aren't exactly the same size, so we're going to have to trim them down.
I'm trying to think, so they'll fit into here.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Or,
Yeah.
if they're not big enough, then they will just be the arms.
Yeah, great.
So, for this next part, we're just going to mark it out here. And for this, it can just be like a rough line. And this will be a leg or an arm. So now the next step is to drill little holes so we can put a bit of dowel through so it can hold the legs in and they can move like that.
Okay, we'll come back to them on that one, I think.
Okay, so the next part is to mark out where we're going to be drilling our little hole that goes all the way through. And you can do it on this side as well. So we're going to put it in the vise just to make it safer. And we're going to use, I think, a 4mm drill bit. And we're just going to hold it in the chuck going clockwise. And my dad will normally pull the trigger and tighten it, but with this model you can just pull it and it'll tighten the chuck. So make sure it's vertical and just start drilling. And always try and keep your workspace quite tidy.
That's really good. I see you've made a little mark on it, Jake. What's that mark I can see?
Oh, there. I put my initials on it just because my dad sometimes nicks my wood.
Oh, really? Okay, fine. I get you. Right, well, we'll come back to you later and perhaps put the legs in. Good.
Okay, so now we've drilled the holes for arms and legs, as you can see.
Yeah, very neat.
These will be the legs in our case, so we're just going to slot them in like that and make sure there's no waste in there. Try and get that waste out there. So then we're going to get the dowel and push it through. Oh, in this case actually, we need to cut these down here. So we're just going to use these ones for the moment.
It doesn't fit. Oh, we'll have to go back and trim it up. Doesn't matter. We can trim it up.
Yeah, so we just need to cut it down there a bit more, and maybe round off the edges with a flat file.
Or we could use a sanding machine with some help, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, that's fine. Some things don't always go to plan, and obviously this is a mistake. I think that will fit. We'll come back to them and show them it all together in a moment. Brilliant now. And you've drilled this as well, of course, have you?
Oh,
Did
yeah.
you do that in one go, did you?
You can do it in one go, going vertically, or you can drill halfway through this way and this way. Or if you don't want to go all the way through, you can just drill about a centimetre each side and then put the dowel in. But it'll probably be stronger to drill all the way through and put the dowel.
And how did you put that in the vise, holding it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try and put your work always in the vise, just to make it safer and less chance of you hurting yourself. And
Okay.
top tip,
Yeah.
when you're using the drill, if you are worried about hurting yourself, you see these numbers, you can turn it all the way down to like 7, so if it catches, it'll just slip.
Okay, I think it's called a ratchet or something.
Yeah.
A clutch. Yeah. Good. Brilliant. I'll come back to them.
Assembly, we have trimmed these down, and we're just going to get a little bit of dowel and going to slot it in. Now this part is quite fiddly, but you can try and line up the hole and the hole on the leg and do it that way. And then make sure you don't cut down the material too far or drill too near the edge, otherwise it may break off. And I might have done that already.
Ah, you made a few mistakes, actually. Well, these things happen, Jake,
Yeah.
Good, that looks neat.
And then of course
Block body.
we will snip those off in a later date. But for the moment, we're going to keep them on.
And what about the head? Have you made the head yet, Jake?
Oh no, he's going to be headless.
I was a headless block person.
Well, the head is we're going to make later out of scrap wood, just like the body.
Oh, look good.
And that's what it's going to look like, but these are going to be shorter.
Looks a bit scary, a bit Halloween-y, Headless.
Even though it's January.
Oh.
So that
maybe
is
the head.
going to be the head.
I thought you drew a head earlier. Oh, it was on the page, wasn't it?
Yeah.
On the design. Oh, look, there's a design. Looking fairly similar, I think, to block headless person.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, so now we're going to drill a hole for the head, and this part, the dowel's going to be fixed in, but I'm going to have to drill a slightly bigger hole. And make sure you do some marking out, so you know where to drill. And I've also done it on this side, but that's not needed. So then we're going to put it in the vise to drill the hole. And on the head, it's not going to be glued in. So we're just going to make that hole a bit bigger. And this is not really a toy for children under 5, because there are small parts like the dowel that the kid can choke on.
So it's for 5 and above?
Yeah. And if you got dogs, make sure you don't leave it around, otherwise
our dog
they will chew it to pieces.
Well, our dog Katie would actually have it for dinner, I think.
Yeah, and probably our cat Jessie will have it for dinner.
The cat would have it. Oh, what have you drawn on there? Is this a joke?
Well, it's not meant to be, but hashtag shed hacks.
Looks a bit similar to you, Jake, I think.
Really?
No. It's coming together well.
Yeah. So now I'm just assembling it again. And if you're like my dad and you drill the hole there, you may go into the dowel a little.
Right.
But no one's like my dad, so I'm sure you won't do that.
Do you want to put the head on, Jake?
Yeah.
No. What size hole is that?
This is a
I think it's a 5.5
need to
mil.
check. Yeah.
Oh, does it say on the drill, doesn't it? Of course it does, yeah.
It's a 5.5 drill bit. You can't really see that because it's the same colour. But
Yeah.
in my case, I
let's
may
just
need to
see.
do it even a little bit bigger. Of course, when you do this, make sure you don't whack yourself with the hammer.
There's the drill bit. I can't see the markings.
The marking is right there.
Yeah.
It's very small. You can barely even see it with your naked eye. So, in this case,
okay.
we need a bigger hole in the top. So, I'll go for 6mm because that's the next size up that we have. And then, if your drill doesn't turn, you can just tighten it manually. So this is the assembly. Now we're just going to slot all the legs together.
Looks all a bit smoother. Have you been
Oh yeah, and
smoothing it?
you can sand it down on some rough sandpaper and then go back onto the fine sandpaper. And you can make sure you line up the holes that you drilled. But for some reason this doesn't want to go through.
Have you put the wrong...
There we go.
Right. Hold it down so I can see this. Okay,
Yeah.
that's that one.
And then with these you can sand with the grain.
Did it take
Never.
a long time?
No, never against the grain. Okay, and then you can do all the corners as well. So then we're just going to put this together.
Oh yeah.
Now you can just get a pair of wire cutters
Oh, wait, I can't see. That's it.
and just cut it down around about there.
And how will those arms be stopped from coming off?
You can just glue them very slightly there and there.
Right.
Then we're going to get the little bit of dowel. And if this goes too far in, don't worry, you can pull it out with pliers.
You can use the hammer, so.
I think that's as far as it'll go.
Oh yeah.
And in that case, we're going to have to chop it down a bit. But that should be what it looks like.
I think that towel might be a bit too short. Okay.
Yeah. And you can add glasses on like that. And
And these move, do they?
yeah, look, these move up and down. And in the other direction as well.
Now, I noticed this has got some other details. This one.
Oh yeah, these are optional, like the tie, the glasses, the feet and the hands. Those are more optional just because they're a bit harder to make, but you can still make them fairly quickly.
Okay, let me just... Oh, you take the head off again.
Yeah, I'm just going to cut it
Oh,
down.
go on then, show us quickly.
Just get
Not
a pair
too
of
much.
these.
Watch your fingers. twist that on.
There we go.
And that head will be glued on, will it?
No. That part of the dowel will be glued on.
Right.
And this part where the dowel goes in, it will just stay in so you can turn the head.
Well, this is quite big. A small child couldn't put that in their mouth, could they?
No.
Let's just give an idea to the viewers how big this is.
70 centimetres wide, the head.
Yeah, it's quite large. 70. Oh, brilliant. That fits in there. It's all coming apart. Right, well done. I think that's a good job. How long did that take? An hour and a half?
Yeah, hour or half. Around that. And if you're experienced, you'll be able to do it fairly quickly.
Okay, so that's Blockman from Jake. Well done. Shed Hacks.